Alright, we've got 4 packages this week. And I do believe this Right Stuff one is not hentai, although I'll admit I don't remember exactly what it is right now. You can see that is not hentai. There's that. Okay, cool. Sorry, I just don't want to grab this pair of scissors and risk that thing that contains the scissors, whatever it's called. I don't want that to fall down. Okay, as you can see, it is really hard to balance DVDs on the babies of a mouse pad. I think some people out there would prefer that to be the case, mostly because, you know, they would think mouse pads shouldn't have boobies, and so you shouldn't have to be bouncing anything on them like that. But the truth of the matter is, Reimu here has some pretty tanky knockers. Like I have another pillow with, or not pillow, another mouse pad with softer patas, but so let's see. This pile is upside down. Why don't we begin with this right side up one, because that's Tokyo Godfathers on Blu-ray and DVD. So if you're not familiar with this, you know, they have their certified fresh from Rotten Tomatoes, but the truth of the matter is you don't even need that. This is my favorite Satoshi Kon work. I know that Paranoia Agent probably left a bit of a stronger impression, but Tokyo Godfathers is kind of my favorite to go to. It's a good Christmas movie. It takes place around Christmas and is about Christmas miracle, pretty much. This one's interesting because unlike a lot of other Satoshi Kon works, it does not go completely bonkers with your perception and disorient you, but it is it's got some interesting tricks and stuff to it. And I get the impression, so like Paprika, I don't know if you get this watching the whole thing, but it does seem like Satoshi Kon likes to use his works to bring attention to elements of society that are both easily ignored but also wildly talked about, and homeless people being one of them. And one of the interesting things is I've gotten a better impression of what it might be like for homeless people in Japan thanks to Satoshi Kon's various works than anything else out there. And Tokyo Godfathers is about 3 homeless people, and I wouldn't say they're necessarily typical ones, because you know you don't want your story to necessarily be about boring people, but there's a human element to them that's really neat. And the movie starts out with, oh, well, how's it going to be interesting if it's about homeless people? And they make it interesting. Well, Satoshi Kon makes it interesting. I don't know. I just really, really love it. I also feel the loose disc on the inside. Here I finally have it on Blu-ray. This may actually be a good excuse to rewatch it. Something I think a whole lot about a whole lot of my stuff, but then don't. But I don't know. I think I just appreciate the movie more and more as time goes on, and I really enjoyed it when I first watched it, so it's probably, well, definitely a candidate for considering one of my favorite films out there, I guess. But anyways, yeah, Paprika, you know, kind of had this scene where the dream was spilling into reality, I guess, and at that part in particular, Satoshi Kon really liked to throw a whole lot of ideas of issues with society just right in your face, with a parade of homeless people, and I guess all of their homeless stuff also walking with them, you know, a la Dream. But and Paranoia Agent, of course, had a very notable homeless person in it. This is one of the main characters, I guess, that shows up in the intro. I'm trying to remember their details, but Tokyo Godfathers is where it's at. Next up, we have Demon Lord Retry, which includes 3 exclusive art cards, which might be covering up a sexy bottom of somebody's dress or sleeve. Yeah, I guess. This one looks interesting. Like, you say Demon Lord, and you start thinking, well, either the stereotypical Japanese medieval fantasy or, isekai. Which, there tends to be a lot of overlap between them, because when you're introducing the concept of Demon Lords, you want somebody who knows what a Demon Lord is, but doesn't have to have dealt with them. I see a Region A, I see special features, commentary, interesting. This is a complete series, so it's not saying opening, ending. 12 episodes. And English dub. So I don't know what this show is or is even about. These characters do not look familiar to me. And I could be mistaken. But the sticker I threw away said 3 art cards? Very strange. I guess, I don't remember, and I don't care too strongly, because those are nice to have, but definitely I'm more interested in getting my hands on the series itself. If only because this will give me a chance to, watch it. Huh. Did I do that? Apparently I did. I have to figure out how I made this mistake, because I could have sworn we already saw this. Or did I just really mix up the order of these? Apparently, oh yeah, duh, of course. Because, why the hell are you here? Teacher. I thought I accidentally ordered this twice. So this is a Sentai release. Normally, you might be thinking, hey, he doesn't normally order Sentai releases from Right Stuff. I do that if I can't find the listing on Amazon, which I think was the case here. He has some rather sexy thigh there. Assuming that's a he. I say an English dub, Region A, 23 episodes on 3 discs. These are the special features here. Clean opening, closing, Japanese promo, previews, trade teaser, and also available from Sentai Filmworks. One was running away from his past, now they're all running towards a dream. I assumed that this probably was made because of the popularity of that one swimming one. Was it free? I don't remember. But hopefully, this one appeals to the kind of people who would want to watch this. Definitely looks like characters, but don't know what to think about it. Never heard of it, but then again, I hear about less and less. Why the hell are you here, teacher? It's definitely a very interesting name. I wonder if that means it was... Let's see. I was wondering if that was getting a little more pornographic, but no, that's still... pretty normal. And this one is also a Sentai release. Aren't names like that usually indication that it's implemented from a light novel or something like that? Well, I wasn't expecting these ladies to be showing more Tata than most hentai DVDs I have. So, it's interesting, because the slipcover doesn't seem like a normal, so I do wonder what Sentai's is up to here. But, I think I checked on the inside, yeah. Okay. Now, it's interesting because the information isn't here, which basically means in order to get information for this, I'm going to have to resort to the slipcover. So the slipcover is very important here. Okay, if you grab those stickers from the right side, then yeah. Alright. And so, we'll have to look back here. Teacher, I declare, why are you only wearing your underwear? Kind of funny, kind of rhymes. Not quite there. So we've got an English dub. We've got 12 episodes, OVA. That's 190, 200 minutes. Well, Oh look, it warns you, uncensored cover inside. Now you don't have the back on the uncensored cover on the inside, but you do have a lot of naked ladies. Well, anyways, this one's obviously a little bit on the erotic side. Here we have Hensuki. Kind of reminds me. So there was this one. There was this one. Was it called M? Double M? No, not M&M. I don't know. The idea is you kind of have these anime that are, you know, harem romantic comedy sorts of sets up, and sometimes they hit upon fetishes. And this one looks like, for every fetish in this adorably perverted romantic comedy, I was kind of worried that this one was a little more, because see, both of them seem to be holding whips, and I thought this one was a little more BDSM, although maybe not necessarily bondage, but maybe sadomasochism at least. But there was that other one, and I mentioned it before, and I remember my main problem with that other one was just that, you know, the main guy wasn't really into it, so it seemed kind of mean-spirited. They don't look so bad here. I was trying to think. Region A, English dub. 12 uncut episodes and special features. Episode 3 commentary, anime short, Hensuki, promo videos, textless opening, closing. This is Funimation. For some reason I felt like it was Sentai Filmworks. But sometimes they can be very similar. Although I have to admit, this is definitely something I've not seen Sentai released before, so that one's strange. These girls are a little more scantily clad there. Not nearly so bad as the other one, where it's like, oh. Well, even though I mark my videos as not for kids, I figure it's probably better not to, you know, flash titties unnecessarily. Strike Witches. Cannot read black text on green background. Well, I got the... I'm not sure if it's new, but I didn't recognize the names, and it's not Brave Witches. Something Joint Fighter Wing Takeoff. I don't know. I assume this is something new I haven't had before. Same backs. Okay. So then let's get the plastic off of this one. Okay. Region A, English dub. Episode 10 commentary. Strike Witches Classroom. Textless opening any song. It's the hilarious must-own spin-off of the World Witches franchise. You know, I ought to figure out what the hell's going on with Strike Witches. Because I remember, did I watch both seasons? I watched both seasons. They did have their perversion to them, but at the same time, they were actually kind of neat. Speaking of kind of neat, I want to see that full picture of them all being huddled together. I'm confused at what actually exists. Episodes 1 through 12 plus movie plus special features. I don't know what I have here. I'm officially getting older and older and not keeping up with stuff as much as I used to, and I was already getting pretty bad at that, so... I guess, speaking of hentai DVDs, I'm pretty sure classes in Seduction are. This one would be. So far, all of this isn't as bad as that other one. I think I have a piece of plastic that's hounding me. it's jealous of my static electricity. Well, I'm going to open this one up off camera because, you know, I'm already barely thinking about this stuff as it is. So I should make sure... Yeah... Well, let's reuse one of these. I don't usually open the hentai DVDs just because there's always risk of that, but, you know, everything else is just, yeah, there's a naughty bit back there, but, yeah, although that said, I was trying to identify who released this. Oh, there it is, Critical Mass Video. Now I'm going to put that to the side since I usually do that for hentai DVDs, and I'm doing that this time. I don't even remember getting part 1 of this Meisei Story. Oh, we should probably get this to see if there's any sexy dirt that they're sitting on. Chances are they're probably sitting on very unsexy air. You know, the only reason air is unsexy is just because you can't see it. And I know that there's kind of an attraction thing where if you can't see it, that's kind of an attractive factor. Because I am kind of like that as well. Interesting. So, let's see. You know, I did panic ever so slightly when I saw that. Just because, you know, the full body-shaped blankness kind of made me think, oh shit, not another one where they're not wearing any clothes. But no, he's wearing clothes. And special features, episode 13 commentary mixed. Ball game, Texas opening and ending. We have region A, we have an English dub. It's interesting because you got a lot of stuff moving. You're seeing an interesting shift in the industry where you've got a lot... I was thinking that doesn't feel very Blu-ray. Because normally Blu-rays feel like they're more rounded on the sides. That one feels more correct. I guess this one has a slight bluish tint to it, so probably. Anyways, 3 and 4. Maybe ever so vaguely remember something having a baseball theme to it, and me not knowing it, but I don't remember the name. So maybe I did get part 1 of this. I'll have to research and make sure. Because otherwise, last but not least, we got Sound Euphonium the movie. Oh, and this is a sticker. This does not look like the kind that's normally easy to remove. This time, it's very nice. Giving us a little sexy... I was going to say atmosphere, air, sky. But then I was thinking it could also be considered the refracted light or something like that. But this is Sound Euphonium the movie, Blu-ray plus DVD, our promise, a brand new day. And it looks nice, but I don't. What did I watch of Sound Euphonium? Did I watch only the first volume? It wasn't bad. I just don't remember anything making me feel in the mood to watch it, which is kind of sad in a way, because it means that there's a lot of shows, like I tend to go to isekai, and it's not bad to enjoy them, but I do wonder if it means, no, I'm feeling the same thing here. Maybe I'm just thinking of old school Blu-ray versus modern Blu-ray. Or this is the DVD version. Slightly better. Anyways. Cool beans. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Well, yeah, the one anime I watched was The Rising of the Shield Hero, Season 1. All of it. So, this one was definitely more compelling. I definitely enjoyed it. Although, I have to admit, I spent a lot of the series really
angry. Now, I thought that I had kind of heard that some people talked about whether they did or did not like it, and I kind of assumed it was that. Because the show, I thought, did a really good job of having that anger, but kind of doing a good job of keeping you motivated to watching because of it. You see, it's really common for a lot of shows to have elements like that in there, but you just don't care. Either the show does something stupid that makes you think, okay, this show doesn't actually understand just how angry this is making its viewers, or it felt like it just had to do that and maybe didn't have a good story plan for it. But Rising of the Shield Hero begins by getting you really angry, but it understands the weight, the story implications, and our main character basically reacts in the same way, or in the way we would want someone to act when we are really angry at things, save for turning into a god and smiting every last one of those fucking pieces of shit. You know, this is one of those shows where you get really angry at a lot of people. And I'm just trying to remember any name whatsoever from the show. I can barely remember one of them, and that's because her name was really simple and thing. Anyways, basically, you know, the show is motivated on that, and I just kind of assumed there was something sort of like The Dark Knight. A lot of people really like the movie, but there are people who don't, and it kind of makes sense, because for those people, The Dark Knight is just this super suspenseful thrill ride that, for people who really enjoy it, it keeps them on the edge of their seat pretty much from beginning to end. And I think I'm one of those people who really enjoys it because it's just great in that way. But that can be exhausting to some people, and they just can't tolerate, you know, being kept in that state of suspense for that long. And I kind of figured something similar was going on here, but I've also heard that there are other people who hated it because the first episode portrays a false rape accusation. Now, there's going to be two categories of people that get angry about that stuff, and one of those will be the category of people that are most likely to want to watch it because, you know, the show kind of shows that our main character's having to deal with that. And so this makes me, you know, you pretty much get enjoyment of watching him having to deal with this, and he does a relatively good job given that absolutely everybody is out to get him. But if those people aren't likely to be the problem, then it's probably the other set of people, which are people that are going to say false rape accusations don't occur. And honestly, those people scare me. So if those are the people who didn't like this show, or who were the vocal ones, then I guess they don't matter. It means it's probably a good show as long as you have a grounding in reality, i.e., oh yes, of course women are people too, and they can lie just like men can lie. You know, there's no reason they wouldn't be able to. Maybe their complaint is that, oh yes, she could lie, but there's no way all these people would believe her, but we have evidence of both of those things happening here and there throughout all of life. I mean, there's even an episode in the latest season of X-Files. I didn't even remember this episode, but it really pissed me off because it was about similarly, it wasn't about a false rape accusation. Instead, that one was about a false child kidnap and murder accusation. But it's the same general mob mentality displayed in both, and it is disgusting. The only problem is that whether or not it unfolds in real life like it shows in the shows, I can't know for certain. I don't want to know for certain because either I'm going to be the person targeted by that kind of bullshit, or I'm going to be part of a crowd watching the crowd do it, and I'm going to have to roll my eyes and say, wow, y'all are a bunch of fucking assholes. Jumping forward because, oh yeah, we think it's this person, so we're just going to get angry and do stuff. And, you know, basically, the witch hunts haven't gone away. It's part of human nature, apparently, especially groups of humans. I mean, it's a bit of a tirade, but the point is, we know this stuff really exists. Whether or not the way they did it in here is perfect to reality is not a question, but the truth of the matter is it's not completely out of the question, especially for the character archetypes present. So, basically, it sounds like you probably have people that are pretty indifferent to the show, but you're going to have the people who enjoy it because, it's a very compelling piece of story. It introduces some really gray stuff that you're like, I feel like the entire issue of slavery in the show is a very interesting one, because on the one hand, it's a really bad thing. Many of the characters in the show know it's a really bad thing, and it's against many rules and laws and stuff. But at the same time, you can't help but admit the fact that in the face of injustices, even though our main character explored the concept of slavery, and it was very... it wasn't necessarily made any more just, there's some real sympathy and empathy for the situation he was being put in. A kind of fuck all you people sort of situation where it's like, yeah, and I guess maybe we think the same thing of slaves. I don't know. The truth of the matter is, this one portrays it as she didn't deserve to have that kind of focus on her, but at the same time, it's not like he did anything that was dehumanizing completely. Like, there was always some part of him that was always, making sure to take care of her. He had all these excuses, and the way he's portrayed, you think that he's legitimately thinking that, but you also know that he's not set in his ways. It's one of those things where the situation only became better because this very evil thing was bad, and that kind of brings this moral conundrum about why it's easy to think that. But yeah, okay, you're going to have the people that enjoy the show. You're going to have the people who didn't enjoy it because, they just can't stand the kind of emotional state that this puts them into, especially for this period of time. And then you're going to have the people that are complaining about all this reality-denying bullshit, and they should probably check themselves into a mental institution. But I get the impression a lot of those are gone, which is partially for good reason because they don't have a very good litmus test for really determining whether or not somebody is sane. There's been actual hidden camera tests sort of things where they sent people in who were completely sane, but they just had the people say the right things, and they were never crazy, ever. But, insane asylums don't really know. They don't have a really good way of, we just don't have good tests for that sort of stuff. But, and that's a real intense focus on the beginning of this show. But throughout the whole of it, it doesn't let you forget that stuff. It doesn't say, oh, this happened, and now he goes on his separate adventure. He stays entangled up in that stuff the whole time. And it works, because there's a part of it where, okay, we'll just have him be the shield hero, and we'll just have him, just somehow happen to be better than the others. But it doesn't feel like a somehow. It feels like, because the entire premise of the show is that the 4 cardinal heroes are summoned into the world. 3 of them know that, oh, this is a real-life version of an MMORPG we all play. But our main character, who ended up being the shield hero, was only into light novels, and he never played that one. I say he's only into light novels, but I thought they showed that he played some MMORPGs, but at the same time, I guess he's just not big into that. He's much more into light novels. Is that the right word? Anyways, and they're all the classes that are the good classes, but he's the one that's the loser class, right? And so you would think, okay, well, this one's going to show how much of a badass he is, and it does that, but it does it in a way where you feel like he's earning a lot of his badassery. There is a little trickiness in there, but they also kind of display some of this double-edged sword stuff, and it has a lot to do with just the fuck all this stuff, and it dips a little bit into the territory of it would be nice if he turned into a god and just could smite all these pieces of shit. But it's not quite that. So it feels justified based on your anger on the show, and at the same time, he as a character actually has to grow, and he begins by growing in a really dark and negative direction at the beginning, but he also has to grow in his capabilities and abilities and what he can do, and he just grows as a person. I feel like, unlike a lot of isekai in which our main character become really powerful, sometimes it feels like that can be undeserved. Sometimes you get things like Overlord, where the deservedness of that power comes from supposed historical actions prior to the show that would be completely uninteresting to see in an anime, etc., etc. But I feel like our main character, he had to learn and grow and heal and develop and and it worked out. I am curious if there is a second season or not, but at the same time, if it ended where it ended, that would be almost okay, except for the fact that we've learned things about the nature of the way that make us curious what needs to happen going forward. I am going to mention there are a couple other characters in the show that I don't think were supposed to piss me off. Or maybe they were. It's really hard to tell. One of them I'm pretty sure not. So, you have the princess that is, in theory, on the side of our main character, because she's actually the voice for the queen. I ended the show pretty much still hating her. It's like, you automatically hate all the people that are involved in the false accusations against him. The false things. But these two characters that I'm talking about here, I hate because they put the undue... They put undue requirement on our main character to be the one in charge of fixing this shit when, he never could. He never did. That's not what ended up happening. And in fact, they were kind of hypocritical in some of their saying this stuff. So the crown princess was like that. Hated her. She only stopped being completely hated because she started keeping her fucking mouth shut because she was too busy dealing with all this stupid shit going on around them. The other one was the see, I remember I think the name of the bird person was Philo, but that was a shortened version of their species, or maybe it was Foley. But that doesn't sound right because that sounds like a different word, and I think I would have remembered that. But, no, anyways, the queen of the bird people, whatever her name is, whatever they're called, you see, I'm doing really bad with names right there. She really pissed me off because she pressures the main character into saying, well, did you ever explain things from your side? And I'm like, shut your fucking face, you dumb fucking piece of shit. He never did. He never had to. Other people tried to do it for him. In fact, he tried to do it initially. Nobody listened to him repeatedly. The onus is on the other people to start listening to him. And even when he did start doing it like she fucking said, they still weren't fucking listening. It took a completely different twist in order for everybody else to stop being fucking pieces of shit. And as you can see, there's a lot of cursing going on here because this show had a lot of things that made me angry. But again, it made sure to keep you driven. And even though there were a couple of stumbling points here like that, where it had the burden of responsibility backwards for some characters that were maybe good, but they were not good because of their bad. Other than that, it was actually really enjoyable. I'm cursing and angry a lot, but it was satisfying the whole way through. I feel like I could rewatch it again, although I am not sure if I will be angry watching it from the beginning or not. If you don't like being in that emotional state, you should probably give it a shot. I think you'll find out whether or not you'll be able to tolerate it by the end of the second episode, which is a bit of an investment because the first episode is one of those double-length ones. So it's pretty much the same amount of time as 3 episodes, but I think by the end of the second episode, you'll probably have a better idea of whether or not this would be the kind of show where you could tolerate that kind of emotion. maybe. I mean, maybe you're still on the border there and you just have to explore more, and that's fine. But if I wouldn't be surprised if after the second episode you're like, no, I'm still too wound up, I can't watch this show. You know, that's fair. That's something to keep in mind. Because this one felt like it was worth it to put the time into it. It felt like it was worth it at the time I was watching it. So I can say it's got that going for it. It just, you know, left me walking away. Oh, actually, I do remember a couple characters' names, but I guess I can't really talk about that because that would be spoiler. But you probably know what I mean when I say that, because that was, you know, one of the things about the show that stood out. I mean, obviously, if I remember it, it stood out. And I guess I mentioned Philo, and I did want to say that one thing I really liked about our main characters, cast characters, is they really were the right people for him. And now, I don't like the Raccoon Demigod at a slightly higher level, but in terms of the storytelling and what happened in there, she was perfect. The reason I don't like her at a higher level is because I look at it and say, yeah, unfortunately, it feels like a bit of a fantasy character, like a character that can't really exist because, you know, that's why we make characters like them. It's sort of like Superman. I'm not talking about Zack Snyder's Superman. I'm talking about conceptual, most comic Superman, which try and say, okay, here, we've created an ideal. And sometimes people don't like him because of the idea, and sometimes people enjoy him because of the ideal. But at the same time, maybe sometimes it feels like Superman can't be real because how can he stay ideal? And this is why you also have the darker things like, Zack Snyder, Superman, or something like that. Where it's just like, yeah, how could somebody actually continue being a good person in the face of some of this crap? And that's an interesting story to explore. But it does mean that, you know, sometimes we create characters that are meant to be ideals. And in a way she is, but at the same time, there's a convenience in terms of her not being the main character and being an ideal like that. And the way it's executed doesn't sound as bad as I'm putting it. But it is just a thought from when I take a step back, I'm like, yeah, you know, if I was going through a situation like that, she'd be the exact kind of character I would want on my side. And you don't find people like that in reality. Or at least that's my cynical thought. The truth of the matter is you may find differently, and hopefully I'll never be put in that situation to find out whether or not it is true. And maybe I will be put in that situation and find out it is true. That would be good. But, you know, I'm a bit cynical in that regard. So, there's that. Philo? She works out because she kind of maintains a pet type status there. And I know it kind of feels like it doesn't, especially when she's like expressing possibly romantic interest in the main character. But I feel like her interest in that regard is still very pet-like. I mean, I think you can have pets, cats or dogs or something, that kind of have a crush, for lack of better words, on their human owners. I don't know if owners is the right word, because in theory it's kind of a family thing if done really right, and I don't know if that's the right terminology either. But the point is, you know, I think they can still feel that kind of appreciation, closeness, and whatnot. But they're also animals. And what that basically means is, I know a lot of people think that means, oh, they just have instinct and only act on instinct. And I think it's more like, they never really develop enough of a cerebral cortex to kind of control and direct and design some of this stuff. So, in theory, they're more like just really young children who have the, you know, and this is what makes animals scary. They're basically kids to toddlers in the bodies of teenagers to adults. So, you know, they have these hormones really driving them, and it's much harder for them to even understand the idea that they would need to hold themselves back. In any case, the point is, a lot of these exist in real life in different quantities. Some pets don't feel that sort of stuff very strongly. Some seem to. And I just kind of see it all there. And Philo does seem to just be, no, she happens to be a giant chocobo bird person that, you know, kind of acts very animally. She doesn't exactly act like a little kid. Like, they kind of have her interacting with another kid her age, which is more like her size, given that her age is, you know, very young. She just grew up really fast, probably because she was being raised by one of the cardinal heroes. But the point is, some of her interactions there weren't those of, like, oh, here's a kid that's just been let free into a playground. It almost feels more like a dog that's been let free into a dog park and maybe sometimes forgets, but, you know, they don't think that other person is part of the pack, but they really enjoy playing with them and they love them. They just enjoy them. But, you know, they have their family and they'll come zooming right back. So, again, it's kind of, I think kids can kind of be the same way, but there's a more animalistic way she does it, I guess. And overall, that works out well for the series, because there's this thing where if you have companionship issues, and that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you have an issue finding a significant other, maybe you don't even want to bother with it. A lot of people find that they can find a lot of fulfillment in having a really good companion animal, because, you know, especially dogs. Dogs attach to people really well, but cats do pretty well as well. Just sometimes they don't show it, and sometimes they aren't as needy about it, but the neediness of dogs can be very endearing. And, you know, you just kind of... they're more dependable because, you know, their situation makes it where you can pour your love into them and you kind of know they will unconditionally pour their love into you. More or less. You can have ones with behavioral issues, of course, and maybe you could be someone that's pretty bad that causes behavioral issues, but for the most part, this is why we have moments in shows called kick the dog moments, where the point is you show somebody kicking a dog so that you understand, okay, well, if they're willing to do this to a completely innocent creature that doesn't know any better, fuck them. Which is kind of weird because Diebuster actually did that in the first episode and it didn't use it for that purpose. That one was really weird. But, you know, feels like, even though she's very humanoid, she's very like that. So, you know, that's a really long-winded character analysis, I guess. But it kind of shows that, you know, they have the right people around our main character. There's some things about it that I didn't believe. I think other people probably think the opposite I did, about, oh no, she just seemed like another member of his harem or something like that. And, you know, of course she was, but I didn't think she was just that. I felt like, you know, things there. You're going to have people who feel different things, but I think most people who watch it will probably feel like the characters work well together. They work well for what the story does, how it develops and flows. I mean, there's a lot I haven't covered, and there's even more detail that I intended to cover that I didn't think I would, but at the same time, you know, it's stuff. Anyways, that's a lot of talk about that anime. Let's see, my friend started watching ReZero. You know, that one's always a very interesting start to watch because our main character is a bit trope aware, and at the same time, his confusion to events is a more realistic portrayal of them than would normally happen. So there's a kind of shift in the understanding of what would be a realistic portrayal of that situation. But it's yeah. Anyways, it's you know, it's enjoyable. It's good. We watched enough for my friend to get the idea of maybe the gimmick of the show, I guess you could call it. I'm not sure if he knows. He doesn't know the details, but he knows more than you would find out from just the first episode, I guess. But, yeah, outside of that, I haven't really watched anything else. I've been playing Animal Crossing, of course. I guess the issue is, and the reason, in other words, the reason why I'm putting so much time into Animal Crossing is I am trying to find okay, I can let this island just slowly drift away, I guess. Which means I have to decide what goals I want to reach and which I do not. I am playing through pretty quick, so when guides talk about, oh yeah, if you want to upgrade your Nook's Cranny to the upgraded version to get, you know, 15 development points or something like that, you don't get to see these points, they are beneath the covers. Well, the problem with that for me is that one is a time thing, and if I'm guessing correctly, I think maybe Wednesday or Thursday next week is when that happens, because there's a fixed number of days that it takes, and if I can help it, I want to be, I want to have a 5-star island rating before then. Maybe get into a situation where I'm just doing little upkeeps here and there, maybe. I'm still not entirely sure. All I know is, I'm basically at a 4-star rating. I have a pretty good idea of the way the mechanics work. Some of them are things I can't actually measure myself, so instead I just have to do the best I can. So yeah, I guess I'm just building up my island as fast as I can, filling it up as fast as I can. It's coming along surprisingly fast. I think if you saw what my island looked like in the Twitch stream from a week ago and you saw it today, you'd probably be pretty surprised at how much has developed and changed. Or maybe that would be just normal Animal Crossing development. I don't really know. All I know is I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm still trying to make progress on stuff. I don't want to use time skip stuff, because I don't know. I don't really believe in using that, so I'm not doing anything in the game that would require me to do time skip. So everything I've done in real life time. I'm currently at the stage of blue rose breeding, where I now have a 1 in 16 chance of having a blue rose, which would be nice. That gets me to blue rose slightly faster. But I'm mostly looking for that 1 in 8 chance that I'll get a red rose, that when bred with itself has a 1 in 4 chance of getting the blue rose. Now, 1 in 4 times 1 in 8 is worse than 1 in 16 odds, so there's a good chance that I might actually get the blue rose before I get 2 of the red roses. But at the same time, the idea isn't to just make 1 blue rose, it's to try and make multiple of them, and so getting that blue rose breeding factory up and working would be pretty good. And maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. The important thing is that, I've made okay progress there, given that, there's a little bit of watering I can do, because I have 2 accounts, so I can have one water the other's roses and increase the chance of a reproduction happening. And sometimes my mom has come over and watered the plants 2 or 3 times. And that's when I realized the first time was when I realized I had to start constructing multiple water pails, because there's enough pairs of flowers to keep somebody busy. Anyways, it's all going good. My house is fully upgraded, it's just not fully paid off. The rooms are mostly organized the way I think I want them to. I just have to go a little bit further with a couple of them, but I'm hoping that this coming Sunday the HHA in the game will give me the S rank. I haven't really even looked at what that entails. I've just, developed the inside of my house, and now it's I think it looks really great. I really like the way it turned out. I think that's one of the nice things about Animal Crossing is a lot of people have access to a lot of similar stuff, but they get them at different rates, and they come up with different ideas at different times, and so you come up with different layouts and ideas, and it kind of results in a nice variety in the way people approach doing a lot of the same sort of stuff. Now, whether or not it's really entertaining to see other people's stuff is certainly something I wonder, because I do like to go and see other people's stuff, but I also don't get to do it that much. I need to process what I see, but is it harder to process now that I've already done a lot of stuff? I don't know. Anyways, I think my battery's probably my tape is getting low, so... And that's pretty much everything I was going to talk about, so... Y'all have a nice week!